Ever since the beginning of time, One Piece fans have tried everything in their power to downplay Mihawk and everything this man stands for. So I figured it's time to go on a short rant. Allow me to explain why Mihawk absolutely spanks your favorite character. Starting with the obvious argument, Mihawk is literally stated to be the strongest swordsman in the world. No, it does not say skill, it says strongest. A lot of people kind of just pretend this thing says skill when it clearly says strongest. But on the topic of sword skill, he is still the most skilled swordsman in the world on top of being the strongest, which is indicated by his black blade, which I will talk about later. When it comes to skill, Mihawk has said that a sword cannot be strong without any finesse, and Mihawk has always been very powerful with his swings, while also barely swinging his sword. He also mentions that he does not go all out when fighting weak people, which we can tell because he's never used a named attack, which is something Shanks literally does the opposite of, which we can see in episode 1 where he had this bandit straight up murked for trying to kill him, and we can see this with Kid. Shanks saw Kid as a dangerous threat and had to act fast and swiftly, and like I explained before, we have never seen Mihawk fight at full power. And Mihawk doesn't even have a full showing yet he is still stated to be the strongest swordsman in the series, and he has the second highest current bounty in the story. And not only is he called the strongest in the story, he's also called the strongest swordsman in his Vivre card. Yet somehow, some way, this man is a fraud to some fans. The Road to Laughter databook also states that black blades are the most elite blades in existence, and we know they have to be forged, so this in itself is a feat only Mihawk and Ryuma have accomplished. So people like Roger, Shanks, and eventually Zoro, they just have not done this yet, so it's kind of just obvious that Mihawk and Ryuma should be the strongest ones, but for some fans it's hard to understand. In his Vivre card it says he became a warlord out of boredom because there was no competition, meaning people like Shanks are not his equal, and yes, even people like Garling and Gandhi are not his equal. Also, this guy's name is Ethan. Now it also says he's waiting for an opponent to surpass his rival red-haired Shanks, which is obviously going to be none other than Roanoa Zoro. Now, I would like to put his bounty into perspective because although bounties usually don't mean anything, Mihawk's bounty is actually insanely important because he literally has the second highest bounty in the story while he's only a commander. Now, this is the same dude that some Shanks fans try and say is Vista level, so using Mihawk's feats to downplay him makes absolutely no sense, especially when he already stated that he holds back on weak people, like Vista. We also don't know if this was his bounty before it got frozen or he just recently received this, but either way it's insane because if this is a brand new bounty, they think he is more dangerous than 3 of the Yonko, and if this is his frozen bounty, this means that this is his bounty before he even became a warlord. So either way we look at this, his bounty is extremely impressive. Now allow me to make one more comparison with Mihawk's bounty, because the only other bounty higher than Mihawk's is Shanks. However, it's only a difference of about 500 million. So let's take into account that Shanks has been a Yonko for more than 6 years, was on the crew of the Roger Pirates, and has territory in Elbaf and his own fleet. Now compare that to Mihawk, who has nothing but his strength. He doesn't even have a real boat, yet somehow this man is barely behind Shanks, and maybe it's for the same reason Whitebeard's bounty is lower than Roger's. And on top of that, Mihawk has a higher bounty than his own captain. He also has a higher bounty than 3 of the 4 Yonkos. Alright, now to address the elephant in the room.
It's different with Shanks. He's a hockey specialist.
There is no such thing as a fucking hockey man. That is just a cope.
This argument is by far the dumbest one to ever exist. It's honestly even worse than Shanks is not a swordsman, because hockey is literally the universal power system. Devil fruits are not really consistent. They spawn randomly and have different abilities, and some of them are strong, some of them are garbage. Right, hockey is really the only equal power system where everyone can utilize the same techniques. Saying Shanks is a hockey man is like saying Naruto is a chakra man, or that Goku is a ki man. Because you're technically right, but it's pretty redundant because everyone in these universes can use chakra and ki, just like everyone in One Piece has hockey. Now obviously some people can't control it, but they still have it. They just haven't trained it. But unlike the other power sources, hockey is literally just willpower. So the only way you wouldn't have hockey is if you're a machine, because then you wouldn't have any free will or ambitions. Even if Shanks has the strongest hockey of all time, this still doesn't make him a hockey man. The only way I see Shanks being above Mihawk is if Shanks turns into Aizen on some Bleach shit. But other than that, I don't see him being an endgame villain for Luffy. Mihawk is the strongest swordsman, his blade is the strongest blade, and just because Zoro is going to beat him does not mean it imposes on Luffy's dream, because Shanks is not the Pirate King, and he is not Luffy's final villain, at least in my opinion. He's just one character in the story that Luffy will have to interact with. The only difference is that Shanks has the most devoted fans of all time. I also wanted to briefly mention Zoro's dream, because this is the main reason Mihawk has to be the strongest. I think it would probably be one of the worst decisions in the entire series if Mihawk wasn't really the strongest swordsman. If you thought Kid's fall from grace was bad, I can only imagine the outrage fans would feel if Mihawk was really a fraud this whole time, which is why I think Oda will not go down this route. This title's the only thing actually keeping Mihawk relevant in the story, and he's the only one standing in Zoro's way to become the world's strongest. So I really hope that he lives up to his title. And also, I really hope that this guy is not the strongest swordsman. A lot of people have been pointing at Gandhi. His name's not Gandhi, his name is Ethan, and I refuse to believe that the strongest swordsman in the world is named Ethan. I refuse to believe it. I don't believe it. I won't believe it. But drop a comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Is Mihawk a fraud or not? Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.